Tuscan Raider. Righto, so one of the next things we've got to do today is get the rest of these holes filled, because this is a panel van after all. So I do have a piece of sheet steel here, and that one is going to go right there like that. So what we need to do is somewhat trim it to size. Yeah, we'll try and get it close. I mean, I always like a tiny bit of a gap for welding anyway. You don't want it hard up against it, because then it does promote a bit more warping. And we don't want that. There's a lot of warpage going on already in life, so we don't need more here. Yeah, I've got to find a way to hold it here. Just get some clamps, I suppose. Let's see how we go. So I've got to measure the top of it. Probably just run a texture on the inside of it. So we have it ready to weld. I've used a couple of these butt weld clamps just to get my gap nice. And a little bit big too much there, but that's okay, it'll work. This side here, I'm just going to, once this is tacked, I'll relief cut this back with the grinder, and then that'll give me my 1.6mm gap to weld down there. I'm not going to weld along the bottom here, because that's a fairly critical, you know, it's just going to be too hard to get in there and, you know, grind it and get it nice and neat and tidy like this, because obviously there isn't supposed to be a seam there. So my plan of attack here is I'll hit it from the other side, weld it from the other side, and then here I can just put a very, very light skim coat of polyurethane on there. I won't use bog or Bondo because that'll crack, but I'll just use some polyurethane just to fill it so that we get, because it'll have a bit of flexibility, I suppose. That's the plan anyway, whether or not, but you can see looking down the guts, the thing's pretty damn straight, so once it's all blended in, you are not going to know this thing was not cut apart. Yeah, so still a little bit of work obviously on the inside here to do, but it's getting there very, very slowly but surely. I think the plan will be, once I've nipped up this whole side, I'll put it back on the hoist, then I can tackle the other side over there, chop that bar out. I have that top gutter section, which is brand new, which is that piece over there. So that's going to get welded in, and yeah, we'll keep going. So let's get this tacked together, and then we can relief cut it and go from there. Okie dokie, got a couple of tacks just here, and we can start to get this one welded in. Obviously I've got no windows now to put my hands through to the other side, so it's going to be a little bit harder, but we'll get there. I think what I'll do is just put a whole lot of tacks along the top, then I can relief cut the sides, And then I think we've got enough, yeah, we've got a little bit of material along the bottom there. I can just chop that off and trim it down close to the bottom as well. So yeah, let's keep going. So we are almost complete here. We're going to actually get the roof skin off, but we've gone and buzzed back all the welds. I did have to make a relief cut across here because this panel was bowing out too much, so it actually had too much real estate from top to bottom, so I just relief cut it, re-welded it, which actually brought it in. So now it's actually on the same plane as the rest of it, because it just had a very slight bow in it. And I did try heat shrinking it, but it didn't work. So I just thought that's going to be the quickest and easier way. And you can sort of see down the guts like that there now. It's a lot better in terms of it's not bowling out like this too much. I've still got to just fix this section up on the inside. Yeah, we're looking good here. So I think the next thing we're going to do now is get this sheet off the roof. Then I can actually access the other side. We can start looking at removing that big humongous pole up there, and then we can look at getting also the that gutter, the top gutter, welded in on the other side. So far so good with the gas. We're not quite in the red yet, so I'm just seeing how far we're going to get without it running out. You'll know straight away when it runs out because it'll just start spattering and carrying on. Okay, continue. The moment of truth. We've got to cut this out. And I've measured the gap here, 1184, so that if it does open or close, we'll know that we can rectify it. Mind you, the 1184 might not be right anyway, so we're only going to know once we mount the cargo doors, and then we can check the gap in the middle and then go from there. But if it's under tension, it's going to want to grab the blade and throw it and do all sorts of catastrophe. So full PP on this one. I'm going to go with that, and gloves and the whole 9 yards, because when those blades snap, you don't want to be near them. So I'm just going to get kitted up now. Get my big gloves. I might not be, well, yeah, I'm going to have troubles cutting through that anyway with the grinder. I can do this one, and I can do the top, but that one there, I'm going to probably have to just linish it down, and then, I don't know, I mean, there's no way to get a blade into there without wrecking the rest of it, but I've got a feeling it looks like it's cracked anyway, so this one here, yeah, it doesn't look too flash either. Anyway, let's see what happens. Yeah, it's always nervous times when you're chopping through something because you don't know if it's under tension or not. All right, let's have a crack at it. Tuscan Raider. Let's measure. Moved 3 mil out, so that's all right. We've got to bring it back in slightly. Now we've got to clean up all this mess. All right, so yeah, we'll just clean all this up, and we're obviously going to have to fill this hole, and then we can look at just cleaning all the metal up, get it ready for the piece to go in. So yeah, it actually did come together. So we lost 3 mil. So it was 1184, we're on 1181. So that's okay, 3 mil, we can work with that. But we're gonna go and chuck the cargo doors on and see, well, actually, yeah, that might be a bit hard because we haven't got this one. Might have just clamped that in position or tack it and just see. Yeah, well, we'll go and get this door in anyway, see what happens there. Okay, the cargo doors are on, and I've just laid a piece of RHS along the top there, but you can see already there's a problem. If I close that, you can see that that cargo door is not right, so I've got a feeling this hinge here has to be adjusted. And of course, if we try and shut the cargo doors, well, let's just have a look and see what happens. Shut this one. Yeah, you can see here, not even close down there, and then of course up here it's widening right out, and then we've got a gap. Now that door looks to me to be right because it's level with that blue piece of steel, and I've gone and just fixed this into position. I haven't been able to manipulate this so that that isn't too bad. Like, it still needs a little bit of adjustment there, but it's not as bad as it was. So I have rotated it, played around with that section there. Obviously it's not welded in yet. Have a play around with that. This part here still needs to be fixed as well. So just down there we need to weld in the bottom part of that. This will have to be chopped open to weld the bracket to this part as well. And yeah, so I don't know, I'm not sure. Cargo doors have always been my nemesis. I know on my orange bus it took me about 3-4 days just to get them aligned up. They were moving all over the place. They used to drive me crazy, but from what I can see here, this door is good. This door needs to go down, and that would be right because we're hard up against, we've got no gap here, and we've got a gap at the bottom just there. So to me, I don't know if this is going to be right or not, but this hinge, I'll take the door off, and that little cock in the hinge there, I'm going to straighten that, which will push this part of the hinge this way, which then theoretically should push the door that way, which will drop this lower and get that level, and then that should open up the gap at the bottom, in theory. But like I said, I haven't had much success getting these things lined up in the past. Let's see. So we'll take this door off. Let's bash that hinge forward. Yeah, we'll go from... Oh, actually, what we can do is we can pull the hinge, the pin out, and just take this part off and put it in the press, and just press it a bit flatter and see if that rectifies our issue. Okay, so we've done a couple of whacks on this hinge here. The interesting thing with this is you would think if you hit the hinge this way, the door would move that way. It's actually the opposite. You've got to hit the hinge that way in order to grow the real estate in here, which I've gave it a couple of taps just with my dead nylon mallet, and it has opened it up. So you can see now that gap is better. It's still not right. It's still, you can see it still does need to drop. And obviously the bottoms of the doors here aren't even close. They're completely touching each other. So yeah, we've still got some issues. I've got a feeling the next plan is going to be to try and close up the gap between here and here, which we know we did lose 3 mil, and that by pulling the top in, it should make these doors come together here and go apart down at the bottom down there. That's the theory. We'll see if this works. It's yeah, it's not fun. You know, because this thing's been obviously driven around without a roof, you just don't know what's happened to all of it. And so we're trying to get everything back to being aligned. We're getting there. Like I said, this door here is good. I think I'm happy with that. That's actually going to be perfect to where it needs to go. So it's really just that front cargo door, but I've got a feeling we've got to move it. Let's keep moving forward and we'll see what we can do in the manipulation world. Right, so we have to get this guy welded in, this section here. Obviously it's just flapping at the moment. And also get the bottom part of this finished off as well, because that's obviously just flapping. What I've done is I've taken some measurements across this plane here, and because the doors were all over the place, what I've done is I've put them outside here, lined them up on the ground, and given them a gap where they need to be in the middle, and then measured. I've used this little bar here. So this is actually my measurement from door to door. And if we go and put this up into here, you can see that it slots perfectly in there, right? So once we take it down to the bottom, you can see it doesn't fit. So as I suspected, this pillar here needs to go that way quite a lot. And then we've just got to check the squareness of the hole, which is kind of going to be difficult because we've got nowhere really down at the bottom there to measure off. But what I'm thinking is this section at the top now can get tacked in, because I don't think this is going to go out or in. I think it has to stay right where it is. If anything, it's got to stretch out slightly because this is super tight. So that's pretty tight, and we really need a couple more mil. So I'm thinking we might actually stretch it out just that tad, which will give us a little bit more door gap around the doors. But anyway, well, let's move ahead, see how we go. We'll get that bottom section prepared and get the top piece prepared as well. Well, we got this guy welded in. I didn't film it, unfortunately, but you can see I've still got that issue here with that not lining up, so I'm going to have to just graft a piece in here and modify it to fit. But that's where it had to go for everything to line up down here perfectly, and obviously, yeah, she's tacked. I'll go back over it and finish it off, but I just wanted to get this section in here solid, put this piece in as well, and plug it through to the hinge so that it's held from both ends. Yeah, so what I want to do now, I've still got, there's a couple of big ass holes here I've got to fill, and a bullet hole right there. I'm not sure if we'll keep that or not, maybe, who knows. But I suppose water will get in, so probably not a good idea. But yeah, I've got to repair that hole there. There's still a few little bits and niggly little pieces to go. Obviously we've got to do the window here, and we are waiting on some reinforcement, this section here, which is going to run across the top all the way around the middle there, just so we can replicate the proper panel van look. Even though this is all going to have cards over it, you're not going to see any of it anyway. But anyway, so what I've done, I've used this bar here and added a couple of extra mil to it, and now once I've got that into here, it's good. I'm going to replicate it up the top here, and hopefully we're going to get the top piece tacked in. Well, actually we'll chuck the cargo doors on first, because I'm not sure where the little pin locations have to go on that rail, so we need to move it either side. So yeah, we'll put the cargo doors back on. Okie dokie, cargo doors are in, and I tell you what, it's not looking too bad. I think I've fluked it. The swage lines are pretty damn close, and our levels are good up the top, and our gappage is also good. You can see there, if I can squeeze myself in here, yeah, I'm pretty damn happy with myself. I thought this was going to be a 3-day torturous affair. Cool. All right, well, we're going to get this top section welded in, because that's obviously Happy Larry where it needs to be, and a little bit of fine tuning just with the in and out of the hinges, and that can kind of change our little... But I'll tell you what, the swage line, look at that. Not bad. Not bad at all. I am happy. Happy camper. All right, let's get this piece. We've got to do some trimming, because unfortunately it's super long, but that's all right. Let's start chopping it down and work out where it goes.